It's Saturday. Outside it's cloudy and cold. The sky is still that weird silver gray, the way it never got in Denver. I am 14 today. When we left Denver, I was almost completely flat. That's not the case anymore. My clothes from last year are too tight. The pants are all too short. The t-shirts curve over my chest in a way that makes the guys at school look twice. When the corner guys hanging out say, "Hey, neckbone," to me, their voices have something else to them. Sometimes they even whisper, "Come on over here," in a way that makes me walk faster past them. The coconut cake is store-bought with nothing written on it. Fed money cake, Anna said when she opened the refrigerator and saw the cake there. Once Mama had been a great cook. Now she cooked like she couldn't care less about the taste of anything. Fed money everything. The Fed send us a check every month, enough to pay rent and buy foods and clothes until Daddy finds work. The money from our house is in the bank. Mama says when the time is right, we'll start looking for a place to buy. Jehovah willing, she adds. At night, I ask her God to will us to a better place. This morning, Mama is leaving, Bible in hand. She's going to spread the good news of Jehovah's coming kingdom. Mama's religion forbids celebrating birthdays. No candles on the cake this year. No singing happy birthday. It's all behind us now. Lulu and I always found some way to be together on our birthday. Me, her, and all of our friends. I want to call her now. Say, "Happy birthday, girlie." Hear her say, "Right back at you." Same day, a few minutes apart, less than 5 pounds. "You think we were together in another life?" she asked me once, her head on my shoulder. "Yeah," I said, "and then we traveled together to this one, another life, another time, Lulu. When I get to the University of Wisconsin, me, Lulu, and Grandma will make up for all the holidays we missed." This morning, my father came into my room at dawn and said, "Happy birthday, Copperpenny." And for a moment, somewhere between waking and dreaming, I believed my father was well again and that we'd be back in Denver. When I woke up and saw we were still in this place, that my father was back at his chair by the window, I said, "Pennies aren't made out of copper anymore. Don't you know that?" Daddy nodded, his eyes spilling over with sadness. "Sorry," I said. I sat on his lap even though I'm way too big for it, and Daddy put his arms around me saying, "I know, sweet Taswia, I know." He smelled like dirty clothes. I swallowed. He'd never smelled this way before. His hair was grown out and uncombed, and his hands trembled when he hugged me. When he first started being this way, the feds had given Mama the name of a therapist to take him to. But Daddy stopped going, or Mama stopped taking him. I don't know which. I hugged him tighter. He was right there, but slipping away from me. Daddy stared out the window without saying anything. I wanted to tell him he did the right thing, that it was better this way. I lay my head on his shoulder. I felt bonier than I remembered. His legs felt bony. His legs felt bony too. Outside, the sky was off-white, like a dirty sheet had been laid across it. The words didn't come. We just sat there like two empty bags of skin and bone, staring at the dirty sheet sky. "When was the last time you laughed, Daddy?" I wanted to ask him. "It feels like 100 years ago. Sometimes I'm so afraid in this place. Last night we had Fruity Pebbles for dinner and only a little bit of milk. It feels like every day the world falls a little more apart. Once I had a mother and a father and we were all happy. Some days it felt like me and Anna and the world all by ourselves, and the world we're in doesn't make any kind of sense anymore." "What you need to do is get up out of that chair and get looking for a job," my mother says now. Outside, it begins to rain softly. The sky drops a bit closer to the ground. Daddy's eyes move slowly from the rain to Mama and then back again. "A job?" my father says, his voice breaking. "A job?" "Yes," Mama says. "You've been sitting at that window like some sick old man for all these months. Playtime is over. You should have thought about all you're thinking about before now. Made some other choices." "Do you regret the choice we made?" he asked softly. Anna lifts her face from her math textbook and looks at Mama, her eyes wide. "Say it," she whispers. "Say it." "I'd give 1,000 tomorrows," she said one night. "I'd give a whole 10 years of my life back to be in Denver the way we used to be." Mama lifts her Bible to her chest and hugs it. After a long time has passed, she says, "You did the right thing." Anna curses under her breath and turns back to her homework. This morning she gave me the autumn-colored sweater, kissed me on the forehead. Her lips felt strange. Good strange. I know how to be a cop, Daddy says. I know what's right and what's wrong. He looks at each of us and nods. Right and wrong, he says again, then turns back to the window. And I knew about Denver and teaching there, Mama says. But that's all behind us now. Jehovah has a plan and we have to. What plan? My father shouts. Anna and I jump, but Mama stands there as if this loud voice came out of Daddy every single day. What damn plan does your God have? Tell me, because I want to be a part of it. Mama presses her Bible closer to her chest and doesn't say anything. She doesn't look angry, just a little bit broken. Don't take this away from me, she says. Not this too. I lay my head down on the kitchen table. The pages of my notebook feel cool against my face. We're supposed to write a story about a dream we had that changed us. I've had 300 dreams and still wake up in this tiny apartment in this world that doesn't have anything to do with us. I was a cop for 15 years, my father says to the window. 15 years. When I walk down these streets and see cops, I see that thing in their eyes that still believes in it. Still believes they can protect the world and change it and make it good. Well, you know what? I used to have those same beliefs, but they died with Raymond Taylor. They died the morning I walked into the DA's office. They died when Randall and Dennis got sent to jail for manslaughter. I did that. I sent 2 cops to jail. 2 cops. And it tore me up inside. Tore me up. Me and Anna sit straight up, our eyes wide. They went to jail, I think, feeling a smile coming on. The first few times we asked, he wouldn't tell us. And then we were too scared to ask anymore. And now, here it was, in this tiny apartment all these miles away from Denver. They went to jail. When I look over at Anna, she's half smiling too. I hug myself hard, scared of my father's voice, so loud in the room, but loving the words coming out of his mouth. They went to jail. He turns slowly and glares at my mother. Do you know what that felt like? It felt like sending myself to jail. It didn't feel like the right thing, no matter how many times you tell me it was. It felt as wrong as Raymond Taylor's dying felt. And so now what do I have? Tell me, Mrs. Thomas. Tell me what your God's next plan is, because I am as tired of myself at this window as you are. Mama bites her bottom lip and stares at Daddy. The room is silent. It is the most he's said in a long time, and the words hit us all hard. Anna stares down at her hands. The smile is gone now, but she's not frowning either. I put my braid in my mouth and chew the end of it for a minute. The apartment is dead silent. When my father sighs, I get up and put my arms around his shoulders. He reaches up and pats my hand absently. He is crying. I'm sorry, Mama says after a long time has passed. I'm sorry it had to happen like this. To you and to us. She sniffs and lets her breath out real slowly. It's hard for all of us here, but we don't have to live this way. Anna looks over at me and mouths, jail. I nod. Even in this airless room, there is that tiny bubble of all rightness. A tiny kernel of justice coming at us across all these miles. Mama's voice softens. In another month, I'll be certified to teach here, and I can start putting in applications at all the schools I can get to. My grandmother taught. Mama says she never thought of doing anything else. Teaching's in my blood, she said. No, she said, teaching is my blood. It's all of me. The one thing the Fed screwed up on was my mother's teaching certificate. First they botched her name, then they forgot to send a new one. My mother believes it's because they didn't want her to teach for a while. For whatever reason, it was finally on its way. At night, my mother studies the Bible the way she once pored over her daily lessons, marking passages, researching the origins of them, and reaching further to understand and explain it all. Who was Judas, Job, Hotham, the Arorite, Solomon, Apostle John? Where was Gomorrah, Canaan, the Black Sea, Babylon, Ephesus, Patmos? Ask Mrs. Thomas, she knows. That night back in Denver when the raspy voice called, my mother screamed and the bite of jelly sandwich I had just swallowed lodged in my throat. When I see her sitting in the bedroom bent over the Bible, I can still feel it. Mama's wearing one of her teacher dresses, the blue one with the white piping along the bottom. She has lost weight over the months, and the dress sags at her waist and shoulders. Her hair is pulled back into a braid, pinned up at her neck. She is 39. Before all of this happened, she was making plans for her 40th birthday party. Her invite list was 2 pages long. Her friends are gone now, too. Behind her, no contact. Mama looks down at her Bible. The Kingdom Hall is filled with new friends who call themselves her sisters and brothers. Mama goes every other night. On Sundays, me and Anna have to go with her. Her new sisters and brothers smile at us, don't ask questions about our before life. When they did, Mama said, "It's nothing anyone needs to know about, nothing even worth mentioning." The sisters and brothers nodded as though they had lived their whole lives this way, full of things not worth mentioning. No one nosed too hard. The future is what matters, the witnesses said. Jehovah's plan. It made me think that they were all hiding some part of themselves somewhere. Jehovah's Witnesses don't pledge to the flag. They don't celebrate holidays. They don't celebrate birthdays. We're in the world, but not of the world, Mama says. And anyway, a birthday is just another year. A job, Daddy says again. He looks over at me, his eyes flickering recognition. T, he says. Anna? Then his eyes flick off away from me. Leave him alone, Mama, Anna says. And for a moment, the old Anna, Cameron, is there, looking at Daddy, her face all bunched up with worry. But then, just as quickly, she frowns, sucks her teeth at him, and turns back to her school books. At night, Anna says, if I ignore him, he'll go away like a rotten tooth. Where will he go? And I'm scared suddenly, scared that Daddy will disappear as quickly and as permanently as Denver did. And Anna shrugs, glares at me and says, who cares? He ruined my life. Now Mama looks over at Anna and frowns. I'll leave all of you alone. She slowly puts on her raincoat, slips her Bible and some plastic-covered watchtowers and a wake into her shoulder bag, and leaves. I stare past Daddy's shoulder out the window. Outside, Mama takes the magazines out of her bag and walks slowly, holding them up to people she passes. The people shake their heads or ignore her, their eyes flickering pity or disdain. Some look straight ahead like Mama's not even there. Something's going dead on Mama's face, like some part of her is remembering that this isn't who she always was, that she was once a teacher, that her students loved her, and at the end of the school year, students would put so many apples and world's best teacher statues and mugs and t-shirts on her desk, we'd have to come help her carry all that stuff home. She holds the magazines in front of her now. Maybe she thinks they'll keep the memories from coming. Hello? May I bring you some good news today? She says to the people she passes. My father takes my hand and pulls each finger gently. He looks up at me and smiles. Evie, he says, shaking his head and sighing. My sweet copper piggy. Penny, I say, looking at him sideways, not sure if he knows he's made a mistake. But then he smiles slowly and pulls my pinky finger. And this little Penny stayed home, he says, winking at me. Then I laugh, relieved. He and I stare out the window, our shoulders touching. He needs a bath. But beneath that smell, there is a smell that has always been Daddy. I'm glad Randall and Dennis went to jail, I whisper. My father pulls my head into his shoulder and sighs. The rain falls and falls. Mama holds the watchtowers up a little higher and walks on. The walls in Mama's classroom are covered with photographs of her students. Not the regular class pictures, but pictures of them with their families, them on bikes and roller skates, in swimming pools and swing sets. In the photos, the kids are always laughing. Sometimes they're looking at the camera, sometimes they're not. I walk slowly along the walls while Mama teaches. Her students watch her, listen intently, ask questions. Sneak looks at me. Mrs. Green, is that really your daughter? They ask when Mama stops for a moment and says, I know you have questions about the girl walking around the class, so go ahead and ask them. She smiles when she says this, gives me a sly look. I feel grown up, like me and Mama are in on some secret the rest of the kids are too young to understand. In a week, I'll be 13 and everything, good and bad these days, seems to make me cry. Mama calls it the tears of 13. tries to get me to laugh at how easily the tears come. This afternoon, she's taking me shopping for a birthday outfit. Outside, the sky is blue and cloudless. Mama's students look at me in wonder, their mouths slightly open. Miss Green, a boy with brown hair and glasses, says, "She only looks a little bit like you." I lean against the wall of pictures and fold my arms. Their faces reveal their love for Mama. The way their eyes fill up with pride when she singles them out for something good. The way they look away in shame when she scolds them. The way they rush to be the student standing close to her when she calls them over to a map spread out on her desk. I look at Mama and feel a rush of pride and love so deep. I have to tilt my head back to keep the tears from coming.